here. I can't wait. This was like Christmas morning for me. So I am in Lynchburg, Virginia. Spent the night in a hotel last night. Time to get off the road. It was a long day running. A lot of miles. Stopped into the oil change. Got caught in a little bit of hail, a little bit of sleet. Um, yeah, so it got chilly at the end of the night. So I rolled in here about 9:30 last night, and glad I had that winter gear. Going up through the mountain passes, it was a little bit chilly. Boy, I wish I would have been able to shoot that during the day. Got on this Route 29, up and down, back and forth. It was a good time. I just wish I would have been able to see it during the day. Got to do a little bit of the Blue Ridge. Took Skyline Pass over here. Um, Once again, it was kind of dusk, so there wasn't much to be able to show on video. But hopefully, we'll hit some of that this year. That's the plan, anyway. So now today's plan is let's see, I don't know. It's not even 8 o'clock in the morning, so I'm gonna go down and grab some breakfast and finish packing up the bike, and then I'm gonna shoot over. There's a Harbor Freight in the city here, so I'm gonna run over to Harbor Freight and pick up a extra tarp because I looked at tomorrow's weather and it's supposed to be some severe thunderstorms rolling in, and I'd like to have a little extra protection on top of that tent. So that's kind of the plan. Go over, grab an extra tarp, maybe some extra stakes. It's supposed to be high winds, so really peg that thing down. Uh, the bike, love the bike. It's outperforming what Kawasaki says it will do. Was very pleased. I'd only let it sit for half an hour maybe before I did the oil change, and the oil was cool. Well, it wasn't cool, but it wasn't hot either. So I was pretty pleased about that. Uh, the seat, mm, pretty sure they could put those in an Integrate. Yeah, I'm sure that they could put those in an interrogation room and make people sit on them, and they would tell the truth in a matter of minutes. The first day was rough going. The seat is getting a little better. It's a little broken in now. I'm broken into the seat. The first ride of the season's always tough anyway. It doesn't matter if you're sitting on the Ultra. It doesn't matter what you're sitting on. The first ride, that first 300 miles, breaks you in. Anybody that rides will tell you the same thing. Uh, but the first day, it was like sitting on a slab of granite. Uh, so hopefully it'll get better and better as time goes by. We'll give her a chance. We'll give her a chance. And so then once I'm done over at Harbor Freight, I'm gonna put on over. I'm about 45 minutes to an hour away from the event. Really excited. Some people have been texting via Facebook past couple days, and just they seem like a very welcoming bunch of individuals. I can't wait to get down and meet them face to face. Other than that, it has been, knock on wood, a very uneventful trip. The oil change yesterday, just in case you're curious, the oil filter was $8.61, and 3 quarts of semi synthetic was $35.85. Now, the bike only takes 2.1 quart, so I do have some extra oil left over. With this trip, though, I anticipate burning a little bit of oil. KLRs are known for it. Really wasn't bad on the first run, so hopefully it won't be bad from here out either. But once again, let's knock on some wood. And, well, I guess I'm going to go grab some breakfast here and be on my way. We'll talk later. Oh man, very excited right now. We are almost there. Yay! Made it. Okay, so now we just have to get out to the 4-H camp, which
is probably about a half an hour from here. So as we get a little bit closer, I will get back on and let you know how things are going. So Appomattox played an important role in the Civil War, and I think on my way out I'll probably stop at the Civil War Museum. Right now we're going past one of the battlefields on my right hand side. So I've just been told that I need to take a right up here in 3 miles, and after I take that right, the camp that I'm going to is 8 miles off the main road. So really, I'm getting more and more excited every minute that ticks by, every mile that goes by. Woo! We are now in Buckingham State Park in Appomattox, and we are down to about 5 miles before we get to the venue. So we have to go through this state park to get there. It's pretty awesome. I'm so excited. When you think of how long I've waited for this, I'm just really excited to meet these people. Really excited to hear what they have to say about travel. Like a little kid at Christmas, here I come. And here it is, the moment I've been waiting for. So very excited. Okay. The final stretch. So, in case you're wondering, there's roughly 790 miles to get here. Here. I see bikes. And I see more bikes. I see the cabin. And here we are. So very excited. How are ya? Okay, so I made it down to Virginia and checked in. I got my official badge of honor here for my activities this weekend, and I got my tent set up. So we're all set up in there, and this will be home for the next 3 days. See if I can get a shot of it. I got my sleeping bag, my cot, and I got my little thermomess mattress in there, and yeah. So the guys are starting to roll in now. I got a few bikes over there in the background, and there's a whole lot more in the front of the building, and getting to know my neighbors a little bit. So it sounds like it's going to be one hell of a weekend. We'll see if we can get you guys some good interviews.
Otherwise, I would have been here on time.
I brought the eggs.
If any of you ever consider presenting at Horizon Limit, I highly recommend it, but be sure to check the schedule before the night.
Right.
I didn't realize I was on it before this afternoon.
Am I in time for dinner?
You are ready. You are appropriately early. Has anybody ever baked while camping before?
Not baked.
Are there reasons that you haven't baked while camping before? Yeah, right. So burning is a pain. The logistics of ingredients is a pain. Hopefully, some of what I'll show you today will at least reduce that fear and let you consider doing it in the future. There's 3 different setups here, which no sane person would travel with all of this stuff at once. Only presenters at Horizon Unlimited apparently would try to squeeze all this on. Triumph on. This is a larger setup for people who want to share what they're baking. This makes essentially 6 muffins worth in one pan. Then you can bring this, which actually isn't nearly as big when it folds down as you might think. It's called the Bemco Backpacker Stove. I don't know if people have seen it before. A guy in Colorado or California, somewhere, he makes them. And I actually have one to give away at the end of the weekend if people are interested. I'll do it on Saturday. Just counting all my dishes. Okay. So we're going to light these stoves and get them working. And then I can talk through sort of the theory that's going on behind each of them. Just trying to tell myself. Step 1, we're already baking. We'll get to that one in a second. Not bad, not bad. 406. And we're baking again. This one, because it's the old school. Anyone have one of these old MSR stoves?
Yep.
It's got to be 35 years old. I got this when I was a teenager.
I've got the Expedition model.
Okay. I wanted to show that people who have these stoves, it doesn't have great simmer control, as you probably well know.
And they
But-
wake up the dead.
Yeah, exactly. But because we're baking with indirect heat, you don't actually. This is where we cover everything in fuel. Baking with direct heat, even a stove like this, as old as it is, works because inside this Bemco backpacker oven is actually a diffuser plate, and that's sort of the theme with all of these. Is how do you take what is otherwise, 1,000, 1,500 degrees flame, and how do you modulate it down to 350 is what pretty much everything on the box says to bake it at. And there's a couple different techniques that I employ that seem to work well. They're not all my ideas. I've sort of gleaned them here and there. I am a baker, at least that's what I get paid to do. I don't get paid to motorcycle yet. Just trying to figure that one out. All right, so this weighs a ton. No, it doesn't. And that's it. It's hot.
Who makes that oven?
It's called Bemco, B-E-M-C-O.
Okay.
Pretty sure it's the guy's initials. Got a handy thermometer on the side, which is the only setup which has a thermometer. It's okay. We get by. Let me just clean some of this stuff up. That. It's like those cooking shows where you never see the dirty dishes, they just sort of go off. So yeah, as I said, super minimalist setup. The only thing that you'd be carrying extra, let's say, like this is usually what I carry for my own coffee and tea in the morning, or oatmeal or whatever like that. You might add one of these. Anyone remember high school chemistry? Bunsen burner diffuser. Super convenient. Also great if you don't bake but just hate having hot spots in the bottom of the thin-walled pan, because this creates a 4-inch disc of hotness instead of a single point. So I've got some here if people want one, because that's easier to buy than in bulk. A couple other things. So that's all this one takes is one diffuser and a piece of carbon felt. Has anyone heard or seen of carbon felt? Take a look, pass it around. So it's made of carbon. It's not carbon fiber like the cool race cars, but it is a carbon fiber. Formed into a felt, so it's totally fireproof. People use it for welding protection, that sort of thing. You can put one hand on one side and hit it with a blowtorch and you just don't feel it. And what that does, it creates a 1/4-inch gap in between the hot surface of my outer cooking vessel and the pan itself. And that's the name of the game here. It says isolation of the baked item from the direct heat. You can do it two ways, one with this diffuser, and then another by standing it off of the bottom and creating a hot and dry chamber of air in which we bake, just like any other oven. I also have some pieces of carbon felt, which are pretty cool. So then, for those of you who's like, oh no, my GS 1250 Adventure doesn't have the room. How am I ever going to fit this and bake on the road? Just saying, it fits all sorts of places, and that's really all you need. If you want to step it up one more level, or you don't like the idea of carbon felt, or it gets a little funky, anyone remember these? Back of your computer. It's a PC fan cover. So if you look at it like this, it's also a trivet with about a 3/16 of an inch standoff. Fits directly in the bottom of a pan. Any pan you put on top is now no longer touching, and the heat doesn't directly conduct from the outer hot pan to the inner slightly cooler but still baking pan. Pretty handy, pretty cool. So freebies. Oh, and yeah, if you're wondering. Good. Might have to wait for the new GS. Now, who's baked like out of a box, right? And it's usually 350. Sometimes it's 375. Sometimes 325. This is like sort of 295 to 400. This is what we're aiming for. We're mostly doing it by sight, because it turns out that even a mediocre baked good while camping, when it's unexpected, is a fantastic baked good. It need to be any higher than what we would have for a simmer, right? Because if you imagine that the red hot spot on the bottom of your pan is 800 degrees, we don't need 800 degrees, right? We just need it warm, which any of these flames will do at a simmer. So while you do have the ovens running a while, 20, 25 minutes usually takes to bake, they don't use a ton of fuel. Burns my hands. Another handy trick, some people like to travel with little bottles of cooking oil. Usually it's an Nalgene flip-top bottle that you then put into a Ziploc bag, maybe two, because if it leaks, when it leaks, then your sleeping bag smells like corn oil. I'm also a baker and a purist, so I like butter. Clarified butter, ghee, if you're an Indian cook, has had the vast majority of the milk solids removed, which means it's shelf stable for much longer than what normal butter would require refrigeration. Exactly, like what's conduction? Like, is it from one hot object in direct contact? Right, usually through a solid. Convection is generally through a fluid medium, in this case usually air, hot air in a convection oven, blowing in hot air. So you heat the air and the air heats your product. And then radiation is either presence of the flame and light itself, or, in the case of a black box, proximity to a dark but hot body. Silicone pan, just to show, I find I mean, that looks pretty good, right? I would totally eat that. I'm totally not going to. Not because I don't trust it. Yeah. So this is a brownie. Yeah, it just got a little dark on the bottom,
But it started dark.
well, because it was a brownie.
Yeah.
Myself, bring clothes tomorrow. Again, this is not insulated, so it is rather warm. We were up around 3.
And this is,
Alex Reppinen.
and I met Alex doing a demonstration. He was kind enough to do a cooking or baking from a motorcycle
Moto
demonstration.
Baking, as
Moto
I'm trying
baking.
to coin the term. Yeah.
Okay. And what do you do for a living?
I'm a baker by trade now. Wasn't always, but it's my most recent career. And yeah, I have a small at-home baking business, and I'm looking to expand with a commercial space.
Perfect. And you are a traveler, yes?
I am a traveler, sometimes with a motorcycle, mostly just domestically there, but I have a lot of extensive international travel with my previous careers. for the government and just for recreational travel for vacations.
Okay.
So-
And so the last place you've been traveling?
Last place, well, within the states, probably Florida, but that doesn't really count.
Well, why not?
But yeah, Florida, just vacation with family. Last international trip was probably either London or Costa Rica. I'm not sure. So yeah, we.
Favorite place you've gone?
Oh, well, I lived in Thailand for a few years, so I love Southeast Asia. I'd love to go back to Cambodia or Laos to explore a bit more, just with the perspective of exploring as opposed to working.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
So if I gave you an unlimited amount of resource, an unlimited amount of money,
Yeah.
and said you can go, but you have to go now, where would you go?
Paris. I'm a baker
You're
most
a baker.
recently. Yeah, and so if resources weren't the issue, dollar goes further in Laos and Cambodia. So if I'm paying for it, that's where I'm headed. Somebody else is paying for it. I'd love to do, just travel in France, start in Paris, and see how far I get, exploring bread bakeries and that sort of thing.
And what would you consider the difference between a traveler and a tourist to be?
I think a traveler is there to experience the culture in its native state, and a tourist is there to see the sights. I
And
aspire
you
to be
consider yourself?
I aspire to be a traveler wherever I go. I much prefer to get off the beaten track, go back alleys, talk to locals, find shops that aren't on the list, that sort of thing. I'll see the Eiffel Tower from afar, but I want to go talk to the bread baker behind the counter, see what he's up to.
Outstanding. And if you had a couple words to say, if somebody says to you, I'm thinking about traveling one day.
Go wherever it is, wherever you can afford to get with time and money. I think travel begets more travel. The more comfortable you are with going and sort of satisfying that itch, the more accessible it all becomes. It looks easier, it looks cheaper. You realize that it is easier and cheaper than you think. I love travel. Nothing's better.
Well, hey, listen, I just wanted to take a moment to personally thank you for making me feel at home at this event. I know we've talked several times. I've had broke bread with you.
Yep.
And I just want you to know I appreciate you. I hope our paths cross often.
Yeah.
Thank you
Fantastic.
very much.
It's been a pleasure, Brian.
All right.
Be well.